Enseño música en una escuela. ¡Connie, con todo! Hoy empezó como el mejor día de mi vida.
Vuelve en la noche, tocamos a las 7.
¡Sí! ¡Woohoo! ¿Sabes lo que va a decir? ¡Joe Gardner! ¡Lo hice! ¡Conseguí el trabajo!
Hi guys, nice to meet you. Thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thanks for being here.
I gotta say that congratulations. What I've seen of the footage of Soul is amazing, simply amazing.
Thank you.
Think it's such a great hit. But some of the things that actually surprised me the most were these entities that are lost, those whose passions have become obsessions, and are actually trapping the souls inside of all these worries. So I would like to ask you, how did you come up with these ideas, and why did you decide to put it on the film?
Those are the lost souls, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, the last sound.
So in the zone, didn't it start with the zone, Pete?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then Moonwind, and we needed a place for those two worlds to kind of connect.
Yeah, I think it was Jamie Baker was one of our story artists. I mean, we kind of work, we do a lot of writing, but then we do a lot of drawing, and one of our story artists drew a whole kind of a sequence. It was like before it was a sequence really, but it was like an idea that would take place in this ethereal place that would have souls that are the opposite of Joe. Joe feels like, I know exactly what I want and I'm driven for this, but some people, you just look at them and they seem like they're wandering lost through life, and so we called them lost souls. But then we also recognize that sometimes people who are so into what they do, they're so deeply into what they're doing that they are lost as well. And so that was kind of the whole thing is usually like a process of taking these ideas and going, oh, this seems cool, and then figuring out, how does the story go through this? How do we connect this to some of the larger ideas in the movie?
How are you guys? Nice to meeting you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. Nice to meet you.
I was hearing your interviews for Soul, where you talk about how sometimes in a film you have to let some things go. You have to take some things, and you actually talk about how you have to pull out some of the mundane things that get in Joe's way to achieve his dream, like helping a little child or his mother or a friend. It's so interesting because they seem mundane but are so important things to communicate in the movie. So I wanted to ask you, how did you decide to pull that out, and how did you maintain the essence of this idea, the idea that sometimes life happens, but without having to put it directly or explicitly on the film?
Well, sometimes the running time makes decisions for us. You know, we have all of these wonderful ideas that everybody pitches that are super awesome and definitely help like emphasize certain story points. Some of them sometimes get there faster than others, and so sometimes those are the ones where we're like, this is a beautiful idea, but it takes too long to get there. Yeah, sometimes we just literally use the running time to help us make choices on what to keep and what to not keep, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think it's also just as we continually remake the film every screening, you just start to find different ways to say that same thing. And sometimes it's like you don't need as much as you did the first time, because you realize, oh, we're still getting that same message across with this one beat as opposed to these three. So as long as we're still communicating that same idea, then it's sort of fine to lose those other people.
Have you ever felt like a lost soul?
Yeah. I know for me, like there have been a couple times, usually not very long, thankfully, where I just feel like, what am I doing? I just am going through the motions of every day, you know, trying to break through in some way. And usually for me, it's like shaking things up. I need to find the balance of, I need enough structure so that it's not every day is new, but if there's everything is new every day, then I go crazy too. So I need like a balance.
Yeah, there was definitely times like during college or, you know, even adulthood that you feel, I think lost is the perfect word for it. And, you know, I think 2020 has made me feel a little bit lost. To be right now.
Yeah, it's true.
Help me. Just kidding.
Soul is so an amazing movie because it seems to be about our passions, and why we enjoy life, but it also portrays a lot of spiritual and metaphysical and even psychological things that are so complex to understand. So I want you to ask you, how was the process of creating these ideas or brought to life these ideas like the afterlife or the great begin or even the idea of the passion or the personality? How did you create and brought to life with characters that are relatable and easy to understand?
Well, one of the ways that we try to sort of make these, these big, crazy ideas make sense to, at least to us even, is we try to think of a metaphor. So we try to think of, we have a place like the Great Before, and it's full of souls who have never experienced life. What would those souls be like? What does it feel like to, be early in life and not know sort of the rules or not know how things work? And we were like, oh, they're like children. So that was a good foundation of just sort of like, okay, so young souls are like children. And so if you're out there and you have to deal with like millions of children every day who are going to be, going to go live, what would you be like in order to make that whole thing work? And so we were like, oh, the counselors, for example, are, they're like kindergarten teachers. They're like eternally patient, slightly overwhelmed. And, that made us understand their characters. And then so we were like, okay, so then the whole sort of Great Before is like a giant playground, exploratorium, kindergarten, like places where we send or we take young children to learn about the world and learn about themselves. And so that's kind of how we do it, is we try to think of a metaphor and then we work everything through that metaphor. So we do have like a base of understanding in this crazy world that we're inventing.
Yeah, I don't know if I can answer it better than that.
We're like, what is the metaphor? Is it like work? Is it like school? Is it like...
Can you tell me, please, some of the obstacles that you face while trying to bring to life such ethereal ideas like the sparkle and the Great Before? And even from a production perspective, how was to pitch that idea? How was to actually know how to process all these things that we actually don't know how to process ourselves and put it into an awesome movie?
I think the main thing that people don't recognize is that the movie doesn't show up fully formed. It's not like, oh, here it is. It's like one little bit, and then we find some other little bit, and we're like, maybe this can go with this. So the whole thing is one step at a time. There were a lot of challenges, though. Dana, you want to talk about anything?
Yeah, the beauty of animation production is that as we're figuring out the story, as we're going along, like we do need to start production on things. So I'll be like, well, I gotta take this one scene. So tell me it's ready. I'm taking it, So I'd say production-wise, difficulty, definitely in the soul world. We kind of knew, even though New York City, we wanted to have a stylized, different look, we had no idea what the soul world was going to be, and that took a lot of time. Our artists worked really hard to hone in on the design we wanted, and then also technically it was really difficult, and so our technical artists had a really hard time figuring out how we were going to approach it. The counselors, the line counselors, those ended up being really, really difficult to animate. So even though our animators loved it, said they liked hard, being given challenges, it was a difficult model to work with.
Can you tell me quickly, did you have one dream when you were children, but you had to let it go?
I was gonna say something silly, but it's not true. Go ahead. I was like, I've always dreamed about being a mermaid astronaut lawyer, but I never.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of dreams that I eventually let go. I think for a while I wanted to do comics, and then I let that go for a bit. I think at one point, as like a 5-year-old, I wanted to be a firefighter.
I always wonder if we only got to be what we wanted to be when we were like 5 years old, if the world would just be 95% firefighters. There'd be no fires in the world, but nothing would get done other than just putting out fires.
Firefighters and astronauts.
Be awesome, but completely dysfunctional.
Thank you so much. My time is up. But it was so nice to meeting you, and congratulations on this great movie. It's amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Nice.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.
Good luck. See ya.
Thank you.
Thanks, Becca.
¿Sigues con vida? ¿Puedes ayudarme a volver?
¡Ni loca!
¡Ahí estoy! ¿Qué estamos esperando?
¡Espera, no!